What if I told you that one of the greatest basketball players in history almost had his entire career defined before it even began? At just 17 years old, LeBron James wasn't simply a talented high school player. He was already the most famous basketball prospect America had ever seen. Millions expected him to become the next Michael Jordan. Others were convinced the pressure would destroy him. Every game, every decision, every mistake was watched by the entire world. Most athletes would have collapsed under expectations that high. Instead, LeBron James became a four-time NBA champion, the NBA's all-time leading scorer, a billionaire while still playing professional basketball, and one of the most influential athletes the world has ever seen. But behind the championships, the private jets, the luxury homes, and the billion-dollar empire, was a little boy from Akron, Ohio, raised by a single teenage mother, who grew up with almost nothing. So how did a kid with an uncertain future become one of the richest and greatest athletes in history? This is the story of LeBron James. Part 1. From poverty to the chosen one. Long before sold-out arenas, before NBA championships, and long before becoming a billionaire, LeBron James was just a kid searching for stability. He was born on December 30, 1984, in Akron, Ohio, to a 16-year-old single mother, Gloria James. Life wasn't easy. Money was scarce, and they moved from apartment to apartment, often relying on friends and relatives for a place to stay. For LeBron, home was never guaranteed, but through every hardship, Gloria never stopped believing in her son. She encouraged him to dream bigger than the life they were living. As LeBron grew older, basketball became his escape. The court was the one place where nothing else mattered. Recognizing that her son needed more stability, Gloria made a difficult decision. At 9 years old, LeBron moved in with local youth football coach Frank Walker, who provided the structure and support he had been missing. It changed everything. LeBron quickly became one of the most talented young athletes in Ohio. Although he excelled in football, basketball was where he truly stood out. By the time he entered Vincent Street, Mary High School, his talent was impossible to ignore. He wasn't just dominating opponents. He was doing things few teenagers had ever done. College coaches packed the stands. NBA scouts showed up years before he was draft eligible. His games were moved to larger arenas because the school gym couldn't hold the crowds. Then came the moment that changed his life forever. In 2002, Sports Illustrated featured the 17-year-old on its cover with two unforgettable words: "The Chosen One." It was an incredible honor, but it also came with enormous pressure. From that moment on, the entire basketball world expected LeBron James to become the next global superstar. And soon, he would have the chance to prove them right. Part 2. Living up to the hype. On June 26, 2003, the moment the basketball world had been waiting for finally arrived. With the first overall pick in the NBA draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers selected LeBron James. The expectations were enormous. At just 18 years old, he wasn't expected to develop into a superstar. He was expected to become one immediately. And somehow, he did. LeBron won the NBA Rookie of the Year award and quickly transformed the Cavaliers from one of the league's weakest teams into championship contenders. Season after season, he kept improving. He became an MVP, an All-Star, and one of the most dominant players in basketball. In 2007, he carried Cleveland to its first NBA Finals in franchise history. But despite his incredible performances, the Cavaliers couldn't win a championship. Year after year, LeBron gave everything he had, yet it still wasn't enough. Then, in 2010, he made the biggest decision of his career. During a live television special known as The Decision, LeBron announced he was leaving Cleveland to join the Miami Heat alongside Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. The reaction was immediate. Fans in Cleveland felt betrayed. Jerseys were burned. Crowds booed him in every arena. Overnight, the league's biggest hero had become its biggest villain. For the first time in his career, the world wasn't cheering for LeBron James. It was hoping he would fail. And now, he had to prove that his decision had been worth it. Part 3. Redemption, Championships, and the Greatest Comeback. The pressure in Miami was unlike anything LeBron had ever experienced. Joining a team with two other superstars meant there were no excuses. The only thing that mattered was winning. But in their first season together, the Miami Heat lost the 2011 NBA Finals to the Dallas Mavericks. LeBron was heavily criticized for his performance, and many questioned whether he had what it took to win on the biggest stage. Instead of making excuses, he got better. He refined every part of his game and returned the following season more determined than ever. The results spoke for themselves. LeBron led the Heat to back-to-back NBA championships in 2012 and 2013, finally proving he could lead a team to the ultimate prize. But despite the success, there was still one goal he hadn't accomplished: bringing a championship to Cleveland. In 2014, he returned to the Cavaliers with one mission: deliver the title the city had waited decades for. That opportunity came in the 2016 NBA Finals against the Golden State Warriors, who had just finished the greatest regular season in NBA history. After falling behind 3-1, Cleveland seemed finished. No team had ever come back from a 3-1 deficit in the NBA Finals. But LeBron refused to let the series end. He delivered one incredible performance after another, including his unforgettable chase-down block in Game 7, simply known today as the block. Moments later, the Cavaliers were champions. Cleveland had won its first NBA title. The player who once left as the city's biggest villain had returned and became its greatest hero. With his legacy on the court secure, LeBron turned his attention to building something that would last long after basketball ended. Part 4. Building a billion-dollar empire. While most people admired LeBron James for what he did on the court, he was quietly building an empire off of it. From the start of his NBA career, LeBron understood that basketball wouldn't last forever. He wanted to become more than an athlete. He wanted to become a businessman. One of his biggest moves came before he had even played an NBA game. In 2003, he signed a landmark endorsement deal with Nike. Over the years, the partnership became one of the most valuable in sports history, eventually leading to a lifetime contract reportedly worth over $1 billion. But endorsements were only the beginning. LeBron invested in companies like Blaze Pizza while they were still growing, turning a relatively small investment into one of the most successful business moves ever made by a professional athlete. He also co-founded the Spring Hill Company, producing movies, documentaries, and television shows while giving athletes and creators more control over their own stories. Instead of relying only on his salary, LeBron built multiple streams of income through investments, media, real estate, and business ownership. In 2022, nearly 2 decades after entering the NBA, he officially became a billionaire while still playing professionally. Yet even as his wealth continued to grow, he kept making history on the court. In 2023, LeBron passed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to become the NBA's all-time leading scorer, a record many believed would never be broken. Then, in 2024, he achieved another lifelong dream by sharing the NBA court with his son, Bronny James, becoming part of the league's first father and son duo to play together. By this point, LeBron had already proven he was one of the greatest basketball players ever. Now, his focus was on leaving a legacy that would last far beyond the game. Part 5. A legacy beyond basketball. For many athletes, success is measured by championships. For others, it's measured by money. But for LeBron James, success has always been about creating opportunities for others. Growing up without stability taught him how much a single opportunity can change someone's life. That's why, in 2004, he created the LeBron James Family Foundation, dedicated to helping children and families facing challenges similar to the ones he experienced growing up. Then, in 2018, he opened the I Promise School in his hometown of Akron, Ohio. More than just a school, it provides students and their families with meals, transportation, academic support, and resources designed to help them succeed both inside and outside the classroom. It became one of the achievements LeBron says he's most proud of. After everything he had accomplished, the championships, the records, the billion-dollar empire, he never forgot where he came from. Today, LeBron James is remembered as much more than a basketball player. He's a businessman, an investor, a philanthropist, a husband, a father, and one of the most influential athletes the world has ever seen. His journey proves that where you begin doesn't determine where you'll finish. A kid who once struggled to find a permanent home went on to become one of the greatest players in NBA history and one of the few billionaire athletes in the world. And perhaps that's his greatest achievement of all. not just inspiring people with what he accomplished on the court, but showing millions that your past doesn't have to define your future. Final part. LeBron James's story was never just about basketball. It was about defying expectations. A kid raised by a single mother in Akron, who grew up with very little, went on to become one of the greatest athletes the world has ever seen. He lived up to impossible expectations, won 4 NBA championships, became the league's all-time leading scorer, built a billion-dollar business empire, and used his success to create opportunities for countless others. Whether you believe LeBron is the greatest basketball player of all time or not, his impact is impossible to ignore. He changed the way athletes think about business. He changed what longevity in sports looks like. And he proved that true greatness isn't measured only by trophies, but by the lives you inspire along the way. From the streets of Akron to the top of the basketball world, LeBron James didn't just build an incredible career. He built a legacy that will be remembered for generations. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more documentaries on the people, brands, and companies that changed the world. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.